How did you figure out real estate as investing as a career?
To one of my friends. He's like, check out this book. Uh, I took it with me. I was reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. So
How did you do it?
it took me about a year from the time that I landed in Phoenix to getting my first deal. So I was kind of working for free for about 4 or 5 different investors or agents.
How many properties you own? And I know you're in different markets. So you do long-term rentals, and then there's something else that you do.
We underwrite all of our deals with long term financing just to make sure that it makes sense.
How do you find your clients? Do I advertise on Zillow? What do I do to find my clients? How do you find them? Over the years, I'm sure you have learned a lot about real estate, right? And do's and don'ts. So can you share some of your biggest do's and don'ts for the audiences?
Oh, you want to hear about my failures, huh? All right. Um,
Well, it's not really about your failures, but it's more about how did you overcome those failures, right? We all have them. Hey there, and welcome to another episode of Bigger Life Podcast, where we dive into minds of real estate professionals who are living big lives through real estate. I'm your host, Ray Bansal, and today we have another special guest, someone who's not only seasoned in real estate as an investor, but also a prominent community leader. Please join me in welcoming Anson Young to the show.
Thanks for having me. This is great.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing very well. It's a good Wednesday today, so we're doing
Hey, I
good.
like your studio. I like your background. This is
Thank you.
awesome.
Thank you.
So, for those who might not know just about you now, can you tell a little bit about your background and what you have been doing, and things like that?
Yeah, sure. So I live in Denver, Colorado, and my background, I started off in IT way back in the day. I was a network admin, systems admin, and then I got laid off and really didn't know what to do from there. And so stumbled kind of face first into real estate, and for better or worse, haven't really looked back since. I've been licensed just about as long as I've been investing. So I'm kind of leading that dual life as a agent slash investor, with most of my focus being on investing.
Awesome. You mentioned IT. That resonates with me. I'm from IT background myself. Awesome. So, I know IT is a tough world, personally doing that, right? With the uncertainty of the jobs and the market there. How did you, I mean, usually people think about stocks. So how did you figure out real estate as investing as a career?
Yeah. So when I got laid off, I hadn't been in tech long enough to accrue anything in stock market. It was kind of right after high school, took a year of college, decided it wasn't really for me. So kind of fell into a job doing IT. I was there for about 4 years, and yeah, then when I get laid off, it was kind of just, I have no idea what I'm going to do. I could double down on IT, go get more certifications, go do that whole route. Until a friend of mine handed me pretty much the origin story of every real estate investor. He handed me Rich Dad Poor Dad right before I was going to move down to Phoenix for a couple years to be closer to my brother. They just had their first daughter, so me not having a job and my wife pretty much having a flexible job, we decided to go down to Phoenix for a couple years. And right before we did, it was one of those things where we were saying goodbye in a parking lot to one of my friends. He's like, check out this book. I took it with me, read it on the way down there. Literally, when it wasn't my turn to drive the moving van, I was reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. So when I landed in Phoenix, I pretty much decided, this real estate thing seems like it could be the answer to my problems of not being in control of my paycheck, my job, any of those things. Let me check out, what I can do with it.
The first time I read Rich Dad Poor Dad was in 2007 when I first moved to US from India.
Mm.
And my brother-in-law, he gave me that book. I read it and I could not make sense out of it because I'm thinking, I don't have a job. And at the time I was working in the mall making $10 an hour and buying homes and renting them out. I mean, I'm living in an apartment, paying like $900 per month,
Yeah.
and that did not make any sense to me. I was like, this is all crap. This cannot be done, or whatever. Fast forward to 2018 or 2018, and I read it again. By the time I got a little bit more stable job, got some savings, and stuff like that, and it all made sense. But
Yeah.
everyone that I have talked to, Rich Dad Poor Dad is a classic book for investors that pretty much everybody has read it. Everybody got inspired from it. It's an awesome, awesome book. If you guys have not read it and you're watching the show, please highly recommend it. Go ahead and read it. If it does not make any sense, just like I said, the first time it did not make any sense for me, reach out to myself or to Ensign or somebody else who knows what they're doing, and they'll explain it to you what it meant.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about that book now. Um, I have a couple copies of it just to give away here and there, but uh, it's really good on mindset of just like a change your mind, let you look down a different path that you may not have known existed, but like there's no like tactics in that book. It's pretty much all just philosophy of the mind, which is good. That's probably what it's meant for, but that's one of its biggest critiques that I get from people who read it are, well, that's great, but how do I do what's in here?
and that's
And
where
then
and that's where Bigger Life podcast comes to the play, where you and I will talk about how to do it. Because once you got the mindset ready, that you're ready to do it, and now you're starting at asking the right question: how do I do it? And let me ask you that question: how did you do it?
how did I do it? So our my first deal was a live-in flip in Phoenix. It took me about a year from the time that I landed in Phoenix to getting my first deal, and that time was spent. Um, I was latching on to every investor and agent that I could network with, and just I was doing just crappy jobs for them in exchange to learn uh, pieces of real estate. So I'd go punch signs in yards for an agent, and she would teach me how to do comps on the MLS. And I'd go door knock for an investor, and he would teach me contracts. So I was kind of working for free for a lot of for about 4 or 5 different investors or agents, just to like really get that on the ground, you know, experience of the different pieces, filling in the gaps of what I didn't know. And believe me, I did not know anything. So starting from zero, um, I was trying to provide value in exchange for value. And so, I wasn't just going, hey, teach me MLS, teach me how to do comps. It was, I'll go do whatever you want me to do, and then teach me comps. So that live in flip was, it was turns out it was a wholesale deal from one of my agent's clients. He just wanted to get rid of it. We bought it, didn't really know what to do with it, honestly. Like it was one of those scatterbrain things where I had 10 different tactics in a folder, and I was like, I could lease option it, I could rent it, I could, it was just too much, until my wife was just basically like, why don't we just move into it, because we're renting, like 20 minutes away. Why don't we just move into it and then fix it up and then go from there? And it was like, okay. So we ended up doing exactly that. So moved into it, fixed it, sold it a year later, and that was kind of our origin journey.
Yeah, the good thing was you put your networking in place beforehand, and you were learning from that. So kind of like an internship, right? So you were interning with
Mhm.
all these different sets of people, be it an agent, be it an investor, and everybody else. And now you have different ideas to, or sometimes you have more than one ideas, right? And you're like, okay, but you had people who could guide you and mentor you to say, okay, what can you do with this deal, and how you should be doing with this deal. So
Right.
the networking is important. So, awesome. So that was your first fix and flip. And what happens next?
So what happens next is we were, like I said, uh, we moved down to Phoenix to be close to family. My brother ended up having to take a job about a year and a half into us living there. And so he took a job in Ohio. And my wife and I just kind of looked at each other and were like, well, we have no real ties to Phoenix. And plus, we both didn't really enjoy being there. So we're going to move back home. So we sold that flip, uh, packed up the moving truck and the dogs and moved back to Denver. And what I basically did was I got a job right away with like on a real estate team, and because I wanted to still be close to real estate, but I was nowhere near ready to go out on my own and uh, figure this out, without a safety net of some kind. Plus, Denver, I grew up here, but that doesn't mean I know anything about the market. So I felt like I was starting all over of learning the market. The market was changing. This was 2006. Uh, so Phoenix was already starting to uh, kind of cool off and start on that trajectory towards 2008. And so, I got a job with an agent to be closer, to keep close to real estate. And I ended up doing my first flip probably about a year later here in town. And then from there, that was a partnership with another agent. In the meantime, I got my license. So I've been doing some license stuff. And from there, we just kept flipping. And then we didn't have a ton of money. And so any deals that we got that we couldn't flip, we would just wholesale. So from there, basically, I had been flipping and wholesaling, you know, for for pretty much 12 or 13 years until I kind of switched strategy